Ciao nerds! I'm CRICCI, and today I'm going to show you how I made my Magneto collar piece. I'm at my parents' house in Rome, so I don't have the piece with me, but I will put some pictures in the video so that you can see the final product. Magneto is the latest costume I worked on in chronological order, but it is the first costume that I worked with foam on. It's fair to say that I didn't really know what I was doing. Maybe it shows. Whatever. I always try to work with something new in every build I make. I always try to pick my costumes so that the costume will have something in it that I've never done before so that I can learn. In this case with Magneto, it was foam work. I decided to start showing you the collar first because it is the main foam piece of the costume. I'm very happy about how the costume turned out. It won me second place in the best overall category of Acceleration Designs Costume Contest. Acceleration is an awesome cosplayer. She's my cosplay ghost. If you don't know her, you should know her. You know her, right? I'll link her below. I don't consider the collar finished as of now. I think it needs a little minor adjustment. Right now it's not attached to the bodysuit, so it moves around a little bit. Not too much, I was surprised. I worn it twice at a convention and it held up pretty well. But I tried taking pictures where I'm jumping and moving around and it moved a little bit, so I think it needs some tacking down. In the future, I will definitely add some Velcro to the bodysuit and the collar, both in the front and the back, so that it stays in place. Now, let's see what I made. I've started by folding a piece of paper in half and pinning it to my dress form. Then I found the exact places where I wanted the collar to hit on my shoulders. I've marked those like so, and then I connected them to draw the basic shape of the collar. In the back, it was a little bit trickier to get the paper to bend the way I wanted it, so I folded it on a vertical line and then I put some tape over it to hold it in place and make it hug my back a little better. Once I took it off the dress form, I retraced the back piece on a different piece of paper so that I could get rid of the folds and the tape that I put on. Then I tried it on and I realized that it was hitting a little bit too high on my chest and I wanted it to go a little bit lower. In order to do that, I needed to give more length to the design. But because of the way that I had placed the original drawings on the first two pieces of paper, I didn't have room to do it. So I had to add a third piece of paper in between. Then I traced a little bit more shoulder length on the third piece of paper. I tested it to check if it was wide enough for the styrofoam balls that I was going to use later. And then I smothered the three pieces of paper in tape. Tape, tape, tape. I cut the new shape all out and tried that on as well, but I realized that it was still a little bit too small and round for my liking, so I slapped it on the new piece of paper and retraced it all over again. This time I made sure that I joined the pieces of paper better so that I would use the entire area. I tried to make the shape a little bit bigger and more square by measuring about 1.5 inches from the current shape and marking all of my measurements and then joining all the little marks. I did the same thing to the inside so that it would match the newer, squarer and longer shape that I had just made. See? Longer and squarer. Once I tried this new shape on, I realized that I wanted to split the diff on the squareness. At this point, I had already cut the shape in quarters, which is how I had decided that I was gonna build the foam piece. Using my front quarter, I made my squareness adjustments. I did the same thing that I did before. I slapped it on another piece of paper and I retraced it and changed the parts that I didn't like. This time, I made the shape a little more gentle. I checked that the width was all the same throughout the piece, you know, for symmetry. And I went ahead and made more measurements, more markings, and more joining. Now this is a shape I like. Moving on to the balls. I'm using 2-inch styrofoam balls that I bought in the floral section at Joann's. I'm simply cutting them along the midline with my X-Acto knife. Look at me jabbing. Jab along. Yep. And do it 9 more times. There you go. Once you do that long enough, then it cracks open. Now onto the foam itself. Here, I'm using 6mm foam that I got from Michaels. I pinned the front quarter of the pattern to the foam, and then I traced the shit out of it. Then did the same for the back quarter. Duh! I did it 2 more times, because you know, you need 4 quarters. Then I took my handy dandy X-Acto knife and I cut off the shape. On the connecting pieces, I tried to keep the blade at an angle so that they would attach better together. Then my favorite part started. Sanding. Notice the sarcasm. Here is something else I had never done before, and you can probably tell, which is using contact cement. Oh, ew. Here I'm, being super smooth with a half ball. Once I could get a hold of it, actually, I was testing contact cement on styrofoam, which turned out to be not a so smart idea because the contact cement eats all of the material. Once the contact cement had dried for about 5 minutes, I stuck the ends together. I joined the first back piece with the first front piece and then the second back piece with the second front piece and pressed them together, pressed them some more. And then I tried joining the 2 front pieces at the front. Watch me struggle here as I realize I made the pattern wrong. Wah, wah, wah. Back to the drawing board it is. Here I'm trying to figure out how to connect the 2 front pieces without having the back parts overlapping. Turns out I had to cut one of the 2 front pieces at an angle. So I took my markings, I drew a line at an angle, I cut the line at an angle, and yada yada yada. So smooth. Ooh, sanding. That's always fun. And here's contact cement, take 2. Just brushing it over the edges, then wait for 5 minutes, and then pressing them together. That looks so smooth now. Ooh yeah. Now I'm cutting a little rectangular shape out of my 6mm foam. This is the base for the little piece that comes out of the collar in the front. I tested the dimensions, and once I was happy with them, I went on to the next step, which was tapering the end that sticks out of the collar. Once I did that, I traced the new shape over 6mm foam. But this time I only made a U shape, well, kind of a U shape, about 1 inch wide. Once I cut that out, I laid it on top of the previous shape. Took a couple more test measurements. And I decided that I wanted to shave off about 1 inch so that the whole piece could sit under the collar a bit more. Once I cut the inch off, I tested it again and ta-da! Magic! Here's more footage of me sanding. Always send your pieces, guys. I'm not sure what grit I'm using. I believe it was a 180. But here, you can watch me use it again on all of the 10 balls. Once everything was sanded to perfection, I started placing the balls. I decided on 1.5 inch intervals starting from the smack dead center of the collar. I traced the outline of all of the balls with a pencil, and once I was happy with that, it was time to get glue in. At this time, I had already realized that contact cement was not going to be an option, so I tried super glue. Here, I'm failing at being a smartass and placing the glue in an X-Men symbol fashion. And look, I did it twice! But alas, the super glue also ate all of the styrofoam. So I tried wood glue, but wood glue wouldn't stick. So I had to call out for my savior. Hot glue. Hot glue! Please save me! And so she did. Hey, watch. I'm still trying to attempt the X-Men logo. Once I had glued and pressed for about an hour, this is what I ended up with. Cleaning the excess glue with a toothpick, as you do. And here we go with a spray paint montage. In 3, 2, 1. I did 2 coats, and then I hot glued the final touch, the zipper in the back. I folded the top end inwards as a zipper stopper so that the zipper wouldn't actually detach. Held it in place with hot glue as well. And managed to get a bunch of glue on the zipper, which I'm now picking out with tweezers. Here's the final color as seen with the full costume. Like I said, I'm planning to add a little bit of Velcro in the near future so that I can tack it in place. Don't forget to comment if you have any questions, and like and subscribe for more Magneto. Happy cosplay!